Welcome, everyone, to today's Women's NCAA First Round News Conference in Waco, Texas. Today, we are featuring number 15 seed Hawaii, who will play number 2 seed Baylor at 3 p.m. on Friday. This is a hybrid news conference with both in-person media. We also have several participants who are joining us via Zoom webinar. We will take care of all in-person media questions first, and then we will go to Zoom. We ask all media, before you ask your question, just remember to identify yourself by name and media affiliation. And also those of you who are in the Zoom webinar waiting room, if you could please raise your hand, use the raise your hand function if you do have a question, and we will call on you in just a few minutes. So we thank you very much. And joining us now are Hawaii student athletes, Amy Atwell and Olivia Davies. Is that correct? All right, thank you so much. Amy and Olivia, we appreciate you joining us. And if you will please just speak directly into the mic. All right, we will take questions. If you have a question, just raise your hand and Emily will bring you the mic. There you go.
So for Jason Kanashiro, Honolulu Star Advertiser. For Amy, I know this is the first time the program has been on the stage since 2016. That was the year before you joined the program. So, but how much did you track that team, and how much was that team an inspiration to you as you were entering the program?
Yeah, definitely. I watched a few of their games the year before, coming in after I had committed and stuff like that, and I was fortunate enough to play with a lot of those girls my freshman year and my sophomore year. So definitely drew from their experiences. Definitely use that as motivation and kind of just as a learning experience.
Yeah, follow up.
So then now that you're here, I mean, how much is that, looking back, to when you committed to get to this point and to do it entirely, at Hawaii, because, you've had teammates come, you've had teammates go, the transfer portal and stuff like that, to finish it out and go the distance and get to the program to this point. What does that mean for you?
Yeah, it's been a long journey. It only took me 6 years to get here. It means a lot to be able to do it with a Hawaii across my chest and say that I played at one school my whole 6 years and be able to play under Coach Beeman for the whole time. It means a lot, and it's just super fulfilling to kind of get here finally.
And for Olivia, just can you talk about just the challenge of taking on Baylor now to be on this at this level and to play the host team on their floor, and how much you guys are embracing that challenge now?
I think everybody's being super open-minded. I think we're preparing really well, and it's an amazing opportunity even just to witness and feel kind of this atmosphere that we haven't seen. But I think Hawaii does a pretty good job anyways.
And for both of you, how are you guys kind of soaked in the atmosphere so far, just in the couple of days you've been in Waco?
Yeah, it's kind of been one of the emphasis from the coaching staff. We're one of the last 64 teams in the country, so to be able to soak that in and kind of take in every aspect of this experience is super important, but also to prepare for a really good Baylor team tomorrow.
Rob DeMello, KHON2, and talking to all your teammates, and everyone talks about this being a lifelong dream and wanting to be a part of March Madness and playing in their backyards and in their garage, dreaming of this moment. Did either of you ever dream of this happening and having this role? Was this part of the dream, was attempting to be the Cinderella and trying to shock the world? If you can each answer that.
Yeah, definitely. I think every kid dreams of being here in the NCAA final 64 teams. I was a bit different growing up because I didn't really know a lot about college basketball and the whole tournament and everything like that. But ever since I got here 6 years ago, like, this has been the goal. And we're in a great position right now.
I think for me, growing up, just college basketball in general was kind of how I was going to get school paid for regardless. And my dad and I always talked about it, and it was like, well, I mean, you can be the best that you can be. And kind of the tournament was always like one of the goals. And I know, too, coming in, me and Coach B talked about it, too, is like, I want to win a championship and I want to go to the dance. So that's kind of just my take.
And starting this journey on the home court of Baylor is a tough task, but Have you guys noticed yet that this arena is the exact arena as the Stan Sheriff Center? I mean, does that give you any comfort, any familiarity to once you get onto the floor of kind of maybe playing mind games with yourself and acting like you are at the Stan Sheriff Center?
Yeah, definitely. We haven't been inside on the court yet, but we kind of all pulled up in the bus yesterday and we were like, wait a minute, this looks this looks a bit too familiar. So definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to say the same too.
Or do you have any more in-person questions, or we can always follow up? Let's go ahead and go to our Zoom. Folks who are our attendees, Kyle and Keith. Let's start with Kyle first. Kyle, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you guys.
All right, we can hear you
guys-
too.
Kyle Chinin from Hoi News now down Honolulu. My question is just kind of overall, how has your experience been in Waco so far? And then my follow-up be, what does it mean to you to rep not only yourselves and the team, but an entire state? You know, other teams, they have like cities in a state, but you guys represent the entire state of Hawaii. And what does that mean to you?
Yeah, it's been really cool out here. I've never been to Texas before, so it's been a good experience so far. And in terms of representing Hawaii, that's kind of been a focal point for my 6 years. That's something Coach Beeman always kind of preaches, that we do represent a whole state, and wearing Hawaii across our chest is definitely something we do with pride and a huge honor. And just to know that we kind of have a whole state behind us is also huge.
I'd have to say too, just being able to represent Hawaii is just a gift in itself, and being able to bring it across the ocean to Texas is just an experience. And just knowing that we also have the entire state behind us is something really special.
Kyle, do you have any follow-up questions?
I'm okay for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, let's go now to Keith.
Gotcha. How's it going, guys? Keith Mulcahy TV. Obviously, and apologies if the audio kind of skips. I know for Kyle's question, I kind of like repeated twice. But my question for you guys is, when looking at this Baylor team specifically, I mean, this is a team that has gone far in the tournament before. How do you feel you match up to them just with their personnel? And how confident are you that you can beat a team, especially given how talented they are?
I'll go first. Just looking over their scout, I know, especially from guard play, guards are bigger, faster, stronger than the Big West Conference, and so it will definitely be like a period of adjustment. I think that we have prepared ourselves to match up with them pretty well, but it's gonna kind of just get into the flow of the game, I'd say. Just more mental stuff. I think we can compete with them. I think we have a good chance, but just kind of get in the flow.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is kind of what we've been preparing for all year. Obviously, they're an extremely good team, and it's going to take a team effort. But I think we've kind of shown, especially in our preseason games against better opponents, that when we are playing our best basketball, we can play and stick with the best teams in the country. It kind of just depends on our game and how we show up.
All right, Keith, do you have any other questions?
Yeah, my follow-up I have is just, I know Waco's a little bit colder than Honolulu right now, but what would you guys say is the most fun part about this whole experience thus far? Is it the meals, the practices? Like, what would you say is the best part about going to the big dance?
I don't know. I think there's a lot. It's definitely, I feel like everything's a little bit different. It's not the same as playing at home in Hawaii, but I would even say like dinner yesterday was it was good. Barbecue. We don't really get a lot of that, so.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of schedule and stuff like that, it's pretty similar to every other road trip. I just think it's just a bit of a different atmosphere and a different feel, definitely being here, and it's just kind of the overall experience and soaking it in, definitely.
All right, Keith, are you finished? Do you have another question? Oops, I muted you anyway. Sorry about that. All right. Thank you, Keith. We have a couple of TV stations, KHON2 Sports here. Okay. And KITV4 Island News. Okay. Great. All right. I think if we have no other questions, I don't see any hands raised. Any other follow-ups here? All right. Well, thank you so much, student athletes. You are released. So thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and bring up Coach Beeman.
Do you have a preference?
We'll just give you a chance to say a few words. Okay. All right, joining us now is Hawaii head coach Lara Beeman. Coach, would you like to provide an opening statement?
Yes. First off, just thank you to Baylor and the hospitality that we've all received. It's been an amazing experience for our student athletes and our staff. This is what you play basketball for when you're a student athlete, is to come to the big dance, and to do it at a place like Baylor where there's such a rich tradition, of excellence on both the men's and the women's side is really fun for our players. The fact that this arena is, very similar to the Stan Sheriff was something I thought the girls got a kick out of. I'm excited to go inside and see exactly how close it is. But overall, we're just really excited to be here. We've put a lot of work in. We had to do a lot down the stretch to earn this title, and I want these girls to enjoy every moment of this, and not get lost in the nervousness and the anxiety that a big stage like this can present. And I think right now they're doing a great job of enjoying themselves.
All right. I will take questions for Coach Beeman. Again, raise your hand and say your name and affiliation, please. Thank you.
Hey, Jason Kaneshiro, Honolulu Star Advertiser. Coach, I asked Amy about the 16 team, and for yourself, is there anything you take out of that experience as far as preparing a team to be on this stage?
Just the experience itself. You don't know what you don't know. And so for, myself and Alex as coaches to have been here, and Kalila Mitchell to have been there as a player, I think it's good for us to be able to sit here and say, look, we've been here before. We've done this before. Different bright lights, but it's the same stage. And take away that experience from that 2016 team. This is a very different team. The way we had to get here, what we did to get here, the way this team plays and represents, not any better or more special than the 16 team, just very different. I know for myself personally, I'm enjoying this moment a lot more than I did in 2016, and that's why I'm telling the kids, you got to enjoy this. We're going to show up and we're going to play Hawaii basketball, but don't lose the fun and excitement of this, while you're doing that. So I would say that the difference is just the overall enjoyment, how special it is to be a part of the reigning teams in the country. But no more special, just different.
And then preparing for Baylor, you're a different team now than you were at the beginning of the season when you played, say, someone like SC. So is there still something that you can take out of that experience that you can bring into a game like this?
Well, I think anytime you play against Power 5 teams and you're playing against potential pros, whether it's your preseason or in the 64, you take that experience and you hold it tight. Playing against teams like Utah, Gonzaga, SC, they're going to have some pros on those teams. And so our kids have been on a stage where they've had some competition that's going to be familiar to what we see tomorrow. Baylor's a monster. They are number 2 for a reason. They could potentially have been a number 1. We're going to have to get in the flow of the game. I think there's going to be a difference between pressure and nervousness. I don't want to say there's no pressure on us, because there's always pressure to perform, but I think it's more nervousness. We're not expected to win. We are expected, though, to play Hawaii basketball, and that is something that I don't care what stage we're on, these girls are going to be held to that standard. But I do think there's a difference between pressure and nervousness. we have nothing to lose at this point. And I don't want to play with that kind of, free for all, don't care, because that's not what I'm saying. But there's just a different type of urgency.
Rob DeMello, KHON2, and Coach, you talk about playing Hawaii basketball, and I know the hope is that this continues for weeks more. But when it's all said and done, what do you want the legacy of the 2022 Rainbow Wahine basketball team to be remembered by? And when you say playing Hawaii basketball, I imagine you mean how hard they fight each and every time they hit the court, right?
Absolutely. It's the grittiness that we've played with throughout our season, particularly down the stretch, that we've been able to get a win when we've needed to get a win. It's the grittiness of these young ladies that they want to continue to play together, and that only happens if we continue to win. It's also, to an earlier question to Olivia and Amy, we're representing an entire state. We are the pro sport in Hawaii, and to know right now the joy and the excitement that we're bringing to our community, that is an overwhelming feeling, and it's a privilege, it's a responsibility, it's one that I don't take lightly, but I am so thrilled and honored to be involved with. These kids are thrilled and honored to be involved with that kind of representation. So Hawaii basketball we represent with pride. We represent our state, we play hard. Whether we're up or down, we're not going to get chippy with each other, we're going to continue to battle. And that's something that this group has done all season long, and I don't expect that to quit.
And something that Amy told me yesterday was, ever since taking over first place in the Big West Conference and that run through the conference tournament, you guys have been playing, trying to prove that you deserve that number one spot. And then now the attention kind of shifts, and now you're the underdog all of a sudden. Do you think that it's a role that this team is built for, that they can thrive in that situation, having already thrived on the other side of it?
I definitely think we're used to having to create and finish our own destiny. We weren't going to get help from anybody in the Big West. There were other teams below us that needed us to lose in order to gain this spot, and that just wasn't going to happen with this team. I don't mean this as an insult to mid-majors, but when you come in as a mid-major, chances are you're coming in as an underdog. You're coming in as a lower seed. Unless you do really well in your preseason. So it's not like back in November when we were talking about achieving this goal, we thought we would come in as a number one. It was just where we were going to go. The conversation with the team after season is going to be, we have to take care of business in the preseason so we can go 13 or 14, not a 15 or 16. It obviously improves your chances. If we have to play like an underdog, I'm not quite sure what that looks like. I just know we're going to play. And that's all I want to see from this group. And wherever the chips fall after that, they fall. But we're going to show up and we're going to play basketball. We owe Baylor that. Baylor owes us that, to show up and play basketball and compete. And so you'll see that tomorrow. I promise you that.
And the last thing is, I'm sure when you recruited all these players, you talked to them and their families about helping them grow. On the flip, how has this group helped you grow as a coach?
Oh, that's a great question. Patience. This team has taught me patience. Resilience. Looking at things from a different lens coming out of really difficult COVID protocols. I think Hawaii still has some of the most stringent protocols in the country at times. And so, not being able to play pickup, not being able to play without masks, the testing we had to do, it really taught me that there are things you can control and there are things that you cannot control. And I've always preached that as a coach, but when you have to live it, it's very different. So a lot of patience, a lot of resilience, learned a lot from these kids about how to really, coach, just let it go a little bit. We're going to be okay. And trusting, their energy, their excitement, and not just being an old lady, and fussing, but really wanting to just, okay, this team's got my back as much as I've got theirs. And when you feel that as a coach, that's a really fun place to be after you've coached for 25 years. So I think they've taught me just, how to have a lot of fun and win basketball again. That's been the funnest thing, is to get back in this tournament.
All right. Got one more follow-up here.
I think I just thought of, since last year, the NCAA's made some strides to try to make the tournaments more equitable and with the branding and whatnot. So is it special to be part of this tournament in particular? And have you noticed some differences since the last time you guys were in it?
I think it's special to be in every tournament. What I will say is that the women's game is an amazing game to watch. I think viewership is up 46%, across ESPN. So the fact that we're getting noticed for that and the style of play that's occurring, it's about time that, the women's game is treated with, equality. I don't think it was ever intentional. I just think it was easy to overlook. Yeah, there are some differences, some that we won't see unless we advance. But the fact that there are going to be, lounges for players and families and a great weight room for everybody and travel will be equitable. I think all of that is just, it should be an expectation. I don't think any women's team, any sport across the board, soccer to basketball, should ever think that we deserve less. We work just as equally hard. And the bottom line, there are young girls, little tiny girls that are starting this game. And if we paint the picture that they're less than because of the way they're represented, then shame on us as a society for doing that. It's bigger than just basketball. It's the lessons we're teaching these young girls that, self-confidence and, yeah, I run like a girl and I'm okay with that. I think that message needs to be loud and clear. And so I applaud the NC2A for making some really positive and important changes.
All right. Let's go to our Zoom attendees. Kyle.
Hey, Coach, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Kyle.
Hey, yeah. Kyle Hoyne is now back in Honolulu. My first question for you. I know you kind of stressed that these girls should enjoy the moment. That you guys have worked so hard to this point, and just kind of soaking it in, but also not getting quote unquote blinded by these bright lights. How do you balance that to let them enjoy the trip and this experience, but also getting them focused and getting them ready to play your style of basketball?
Well, I'm just kidding. I think that it's, I think it's just that you have to have a little humor in what you're doing. I think that you have to sit back and really enjoy this moment, and that helps these guys stay loose and do what they do and play how they play. Bottom line, it's a game. Life is way bigger, but we definitely like to have a lot of fun.
And then my follow-up is, I asked the girls this earlier too. How important and how special is it for you to not only just represent yourselves in the school, but in a state? Other teams in the dance represent a city in a state, but this, University of Hawaii, this is all the islands and the entire state behind us.
Unless you play for a state and you are the only show in town, you cannot really imagine the excitement, the buzz, the responsibility, the humility, the pride that you take for coaching and playing in the state of Hawaii. I thought I knew, before I took the job. And then when I took the job, I was like, wow, I've got my hands full. And then all of a sudden I realized I was a part of something way bigger than myself. And when you realize that, and you realize that people want to support you, whether you win or lose, they care about you as a person, they care about your kids. There's just true aloha spirit, which you don't know unless you live there. It's just an opportunity that not many people can get unless they come and play at Hawaii. And these young ladies, when they walk in the door, I think they have an idea of what it's going to be like. And then they actually feel the support and the aloha. And it's like, wow, coach, we had no idea. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we try to tell you when we recruit you. It's an amazing place. And when you're the only show in town and you can bring joy to people by doing something you love, it's just an amazing, amazing feeling.
All right, let's go now to Keith. Thank you for raising your hand, Keith.
I'm coming out to Waco tonight, so don't worry. We'll be in person there. So looking forward to that. But my question, great questions asked by everybody else thus far. But my question, just same thing I asked the girls, like specifically about Baylor. What makes them so dangerous? They're a team that has competed for national titles before. What about Baylor makes them so daunting a task?
They're loaded across the board. They've got great guard play. They've got great post play. They play at a very high pace. They put a lot of points on the boards. Obviously they have at least two, draft picks, maybe three, and possibly the number one draft pick for the WNBA. You don't play against that all the time. So, we have to play Hawaii basketball. We can't get into a track race with these guys. We just can't do that. That will not benefit us. We have to transition opportunistically. I think you have to go in realistic that this is going to be a hard battle. It's going to take us a little time to figure out the flow of the game. We can't get behind in a game like this and try to come back. That will be very, very hard for us. I want our team to play light. I want us to play loose. Like I said earlier, we have the utmost respect for this program. What this coach has done in her first year is pretty amazing. And we're going to come out, and we owe that to Baylor. We owe that to ourselves to give them a great game. And I think we're very capable of doing that.
And then follow-up question I had is just, obviously you've been here before, but what is the most fun part for you about going to the big dance?
There's a lot of things. First just being here, the overall experience, the buzz, the media, the attention that these kids get. This is the experience and the attention you want your players to get when they work so hard all year long. You are one of the final teams in the country. And so for them to be recognized for what they've done all year, for me to sit back and watch that, I absolutely love that. I love that feeling of just seeing them get excited when they're doing media and they're walking to the arena, when they get a charter. Those are just all amazing things. The other part of it is what we give back to the state of Hawaii. To say, yep, guys, we're one of the last people standing, and our fans are so excited right now. That to me is right up there with this experience in itself. Is just the buzz that we're creating back in Hawaii and how proud people are of this group and what we've accomplished.
All right, we have Brian Mcinnis. Brian? Hold on. Are you there? I'm not able to unmute you.
That might be a good thing with Brian.
Brian, are you there? All right, I think we've lost Brian. All right, well, Coach, thank you very much, and good luck to you tomorrow. Appreciate it.
Thank you all very much.
Again, a recording of this press conference will be available in the